Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to a week 15 recap with on the Big D podcast. Before I bring in Alex for his weekly contribution, please subscribe, like, and share the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. It is Christmas week, so happy holidays, Merry Christmas to all. And then don't forget to check out the Big D podcast on Spotify and Apple. We've got some content coming out this weekend, maybe a YouTube video or two. So, back from seeing his Miami Dolphins win in person over the New York Jets is Alex. Alex, how was it to see your Dolphins win in person?
It was great, man. First of all, thank you for the lovely introduction. Great as always to be here. No, it was awesome. Yeah, first time in the Tua era that I was able to make it to a game in person. So it was nice to see the throwing Samoan slinging around. But no, it was great. I mean, it's always great to go to a game when you get a victory. That's always the first thing you're looking for when you visit your favorite team's stadium. So it wasn't the prettiest game. Started out pretty rough. Tua had a couple not great spots throughout the game, but we got the win. That's the most important thing, and he improved as it went on. So it was nice. It was definitely nice to be there. Definitely nice to get the 6th win in a row for the Miami Dolphins, and to be there live to see it.
Yeah, be honest, watching a lot of that game, I was thinking, hey, Miami's coming off a bye. The Jets have been floundering as they've been for the last decade or so. I'm thinking Miami's going to win this game going away. And then all of a sudden, the Jets just stalled off, and I'm like, what? What? Miami's
Yeah,
coming off a bye. You should be better than this.
I know. Yeah, absolutely. Trust me. I was sitting there in the stands thinking the exact same thing. But I think obviously Tua threw a really bad interception at the beginning of the game. He had the really bad pick six at the end of the game. But that one in the first quarter was brutal to watch. I mean, it just looked like he couldn't decide whether to go underneath or over the top, and he kind of split the difference and threw it right to a defender. But no, I mean, yeah, after coming off a bye, you would hope and expect the team to especially come out of the gates a little bit stronger. But the bye really came at a bad time for Miami. I mean, being on a 5-game win streak at the time coming up to the bye, we had so much momentum. I don't think we necessarily wanted the week off. And also because of that week off, I mean, I'm not sure exactly what Jalen Waddle and our entire running back room and Javon Holland were up to over the bye week, but obviously they were catching COVID. So I think Sunday was a very big example of just how important Jalen Waddle and Javon Holland are to the Miami Dolphins. I mean, obviously we won the game, but you're playing the Jets. I mean, we could have I don't think it was necessarily needed, obviously, to have Javon Holland and Jalen Waddle. But I definitely think that it would have helped if we had the two of them. I mean, Tua did look a little lost without a security blanket for a portion of the game. I mean, Jalen Waddle is absolutely Captain Clutch when it comes to third downs and just picking up those chunk plays. And I think Tua was missing a little bit of that. And the defense was definitely missing Javon Holland's presence because he's been such an amazing talent back there the whole year. But it's all right. It's a rival. It's a division rival. I mean, those games are always going to be tough whenever you're playing your in-division teams. I mean, this season we've seen some crazy games between division rivals, and obviously, when you're playing a team that so well and that you've played already once in the year, I mean, they're going to play you tough, and that's what happened with the Jets. But fortunately, Miami came on top.
A couple of takeaways from that game. One, about time DeVante Parker made a play this year because he's been fact, of course, he was the number 1 pick out of Louisville, right?
Yep.
And he's dealt with injuries, and Dolphin fans probably want him to make plays. And then this year missed most of the year, but made a big touchdown late in the game.
really nice catch down the sideline in the first half too, which led to a touchdown on that drive too. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about DeVante Parker is, I mean, obviously he frustrates the you know what out of Dolphins fans because he's never on the field. But every time he gets on the field, he makes plays. I mean, the few games he's played this season, I mean, he's made some big plays he's made big play after big play when he's been on the field this year. Obviously, the problem with him is just making sure he can consistently get on the field and stay on the field. I mean, obviously, I mean, he's a great talent. He was like you said, he was a first round pick. Tua loves throwing the ball to him. It's just, you know, he's got to stay healthy enough to be able to consistently help the offense. But he was there on Sunday, and you know, without Jalen Waddle, you know, I expected a big game from Mike Gesicki, which didn't really happen. You know, he had a couple catches there, but DeVante Parker definitely. Well, I was going to say DeVante Parker stole the show. Duke Johnson really stole the show. I mean, it's about time Miami had a running back who looked like he could handle the full load of the rushing game. So shout out to Duke Johnson, who had an incredible game. The entire stadium was yelling, it was screaming his name the entire game. But yeah, absolutely happy for DeVante Parker. Glad he was back and glad he was able to contribute.
Yeah, you mentioned Duke Johnson, but be honest, when I heard Myles Gaskin and Armon were both off the COVID list, I'm like, both of them going to play. And then I see first play of the game, Duke Johnson started, and I'm like, what? I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I knew Duke was in Miami. I didn't think he'd run for 100 yards, score 2 touchdowns, because you probably don't remember this. I think the last time Duke Johnson either scored went over 100 or scored 2 touchdowns in a game was in 2014 when he played for the University of
Miami. Yeah, no, I mean, he, you know, the Miami Dolphins rushing room has been so frustrating throughout the entire year. It just seems like it's a revolving door. I mean, Gaskin, obviously, you know, everyone assumed he was going to be the number one guy, but it just seems like, you know, Myles Gaskin's got talent. Like, I'm not going to sit here and shame Myles Gaskin. It's mostly, I think, the offensive play calling and just the want and sometimes the need to throw the ball. I mean, Miami is one of the highest passing percentage teams in the NFL. I mean, they throw the ball more than they run it, that's for sure. But with that, you know, also with the offensive line run blocking has been pretty terrible, to say the least, all year, which the offensive line looked good on Sunday. You know, Miami always plays better when those guys step up. So I think it was just a combination of trusting the run game a little bit more, the offensive line doing their job, and Duke Johnson just taking advantage of an opportunity. I mean, you know, Myles Gaskin and Salvon Ahmed were back, but, you know, they weren't able to get a full week of practice in. So, you know, Duke Johnson was going through the game plan. He was getting ready for the Jets, and Brian Flores trusted him to be able to lead the day for rushing, and he sure took advantage of it.
And then how about the Dolphin defense, sacking Jet rookie Zach Wilson 6 times? I mean, you know, the Brian Flores team, it's defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the defense stepped up. They've been throughout the 6-game win streak. The defense has definitely been more looking like last year's Miami Dolphins defense. I mean, those first 7 games, I mean, it looked like it was a completely rebuilt defense, even though they only lost a couple guys. But I was calling for an interception the entire game. I don't even think the Jets threw to him. I don't think he allowed a single catch. I don't know how many targets Xavier Howard had in that game, but I thought I might have heard it was 0. I mean, it wasn't much. So, you know, I mean, getting the sacks was great. You know, the defensive line has been stepping up during this win streak. It's been good coverage from the defensive backs, leads to more time to get to the quarterback for the defensive line. They've been taking advantage of it. You know, the strip sack was great, getting a turnover on the fumble. Would have loved to see an interception, but no, Dolphins defense stepped it up, thankfully, which they have been for pretty much every one of these 6 games.
So now Miami is 7-7. Seems like everybody's 7-7, 8-6. I mean, the Dolphins have got a tough stretch. You go to the Superdome on Monday night, then Nashville before hosting the Patriots. Can the Dolphins make the playoffs?
Can they? Yes. Will they? It's a tough road. It's a bit of a tough schedule. I mean, really look at the Saints. I mean, yeah, they just shut out the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but they only scored 9 points doing it. I mean, the Saints look like a team that the Dolphins could beat. I mean, obviously, if the Saints are stopping Tom Brady from getting in the end zone or even getting in field goal range or getting a field goal attempt, obviously, that sounds like a daunting task. But also, Tom Brady was out 3 of his 4 top weapons on offense. So I mean, it's still Tom Brady, but still, I mean, I think the I don't see the Dolphins not scoring a single point on Monday night against the Saints, and then the Tennessee Titans. I mean, will Derrick Henry be back? I hope not. But obviously, ever since he went down, that team has been a shadow of its former self. So the Saints are beatable. The Titans are beatable. And then New England, I mean, we beat them once up there already in Foxborough week 1. Why not finish off the year beating them at home? So, I mean, it's 3 games that, should be tough. Obviously, seem like on paper they'll be tougher than the last couple games the Dolphins have had. But I think they're all winnable games. The Dolphins' only chance of making the playoffs is winning out. I mean, you can't drop any of those 3 games if you want a chance to make the playoffs because the middle of the AFC is just too, like you said, it's just too jumbled. It seems like everyone's either at 500 or a game above or below it. So, I mean, they have to win out those last 3 games and probably get some more help on top of it. But can they? Absolutely. Will they? They just got to they got to take care of their own business. It's always been the Dolphins' problem. They have the playoffs in their grasp. They just got to win and then they blow it. So they just got to take care of what they can take care of and hope the cards fall in the right places around the league.
Yeah, as the late Raiders owner Al Davis said, just win, baby.
Just win, baby. But, enough about my Miami Dolphins. It's nice to be able to talk about our team winning. But let's shift over a little bit north. You weren't in Jacksonville on Sunday, and it didn't quite look like the Jaguars made the trip either. I picked Jacksonville in a battle of the bottom feeders, the battle of the bottom feeders in Duval County. I like the sound of that. But unfortunately for you, or maybe fortunately at this point, I mean, I don't know if you wanted to win that game. I feel like at this point, you may as well just go for the number 1 pick, especially after the result on Sunday. But I mean, did you want to win that game against Houston, or were you okay with, the disappointing 30-16 beatdown that you got put on by the Houston Texans?
First off, I don't give a bleep about the number 1 pick. We don't deserve the number 1 pick anyway. Secondly, I wanted to win. I wanted to win that game. Trevor Lawrence needs more confidence after what has been a rocky last 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, how the heck are the Houston Texans cooking all butts twice in 1 year?
Go on.
Houston kicked the you-know-what week 1 and did it again week 15. What are we doing?
I can answer that question, and you actually answered it without even realizing it. I think you said the Houston Texans were cooking Jacksonville. Brandin Cooks was cooking Jacksonville. I mean, 7 for 102, 2 touchdowns, a 43-yard long on 10 targets. I mean, you want to talk about the Texans cooking up the Jacksonville Jaguars. That was emphasis on the cooking because, Brandin Cooks had a day, obviously, as I'm sure you know. But, there's some good news. I mean, you got more than 8 yards rushing this week, at least. So you can hang your hat on that. 100 more yards than that.
Yeah, James Robinson was finally let out of the cage for the first time all year. Well, at least in several weeks, 75 yards and finding the end zone. So its fantasy owners can rejoice and be glad this holiday season.
For James Robertson fantasy owners, he definitely had a better day than we've seen the most recent couple weeks. But Jacksonville Jaguars fans, unfortunately, it's great to see him. I mean, just the fact that as a team you had 8 rushing yards the week before. I mean, it's definitely got to be at least a promising look to get over 100 team rushing yards. I mean, it's still, 18 of 75, a 4-yard average. I mean, it's a good day. It's not like, out unheard of numbers or out of the world numbers, but it compared to the performance of the Jaguars rushing game the week before, definitely an improvement. But Trevor Lawrence, what'd you see from him in that game? I mean, obviously, he you guys got smoked. But I mean, I didn't watch the game. Obviously, I was in Miami. So, what was your assessment of him against not the greatest opponent?
The same Trevor Lawrence we've seen the last 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is regressing.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody explain to me what's going on with Trevor, because all of a sudden, unlike rookies who, a lot of other rookies who seemingly get better as their first season continues, Trevor's getting worse by the game.
Yeah.
I mean, this is embarrassing. I don't care who the Jaguars have as their wide receiver right now. Hell, the Cleveland Browns almost won a game with Nick Mullins, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashad Higgins, Harrison Bryant, and David Njoku
Yeah.
last night. I mean, the Jacksonville Jaguars need maybe a facelift, a wide receiver or two, an offensive line, heck, maybe get a couple defensive backs in there. Because right now Trevor Lawrence is regressing. And yeah, I still have 110% of my Trevor Lawrence stock and faith. But to get the best out of Trevor Lawrence, the Jaguars need more than this.
Yeah.
The coaching change didn't help matter. It's the same stupid team we've seen in a matchup the Jaguars should be, because we're playing Davis Mills for crying out loud. We're not playing Deshaun Watson. We're not playing Andrew Luck. We're not playing Tom Brady. We're not playing Aaron Rodgers. And we lose by 14 points. And by the way, get this. You know how going into Sunday, do you remember the last time the Houston Texans returned a kickoff for a touchdown?
Was it against Miami? Because I feel like they've done it against the Dolphins once before.
It was first time since 2009. And guess what happened on Sunday? Tremon Smith returned a 98-yard kickoff return for a touchdown against all sorry special teams. Really? Really?
Yeah, that's something you can't have, because especially as a franchise or as a team, a current team that is struggling. Obviously, I mean, you're sitting at 2-12, you're 2-11 going into the game. I mean, you got to be able to. You've got a rookie quarterback. You just fired your head coach. Things aren't going to go smoothly. Obviously, things aren't going smoothly. You can't expect them to all of a sudden click. But those are the things, and that's something that I would absolutely understand your frustration, because I see it happen with the Dolphins all the time. I mean, not as much recently, but in that first 7-game losing streak, I mean, those stupid mistakes. I mean, missing your lanes on a kickoff return, or muffing a punt, or converting a big third down and having a holding, stuff like that. I mean, the stuff that takes no talent, the stuff that you're just catching a punt, or you're running down your kicking lanes, or the mental, exactly. You're pointing at your head. It's in between the ears. It's that stuff. I mean, that's the stuff these guys are in the NFL. Every single player on all of these teams are good enough football players to make it to the NFL. They all have talent. It's just when it comes down to in between the ears, man, it's like you're playing against a team who you should be able to beat. Like you said, it's Davis Mills. It's not even Ryan Tannehill if you want to stick in the division, let alone, Andrew Luck or Aaron Rodgers or Brady or any of these guys. I mean, you're playing against an opponent that you should be able to beat. And it seems like, and I picked Jacksonville this week because it seems like every one of these times where a team makes a change at head coach or something like that, it always seems like they play hard that next week. It's like, we want to prove that this wasn't us, that we are good football players. It was our leadership that was lacking. And you give up a kick return for a touchdown. The first half seems like it started all right. I mean, you were in it for the first half, and then it seems like everything after halftime. I mean, in a quarter two, punt for the Jags, field goal, punt, field goal. I mean, you got to be able to punch those in for touchdowns, punt. I mean, it's just a matter of, I totally understand your frustrations, because I've seen it a million times with the Dolphins, where it's just like the stuff that we really need to, the stuff, like you said, I mean, it takes no talent. That was the mantra Brian Flores had before the season last year. I mean, those stuff that takes no talent, the stuff that you really just have to be disciplined in to be able to get done. It's when you see that, when you're a losing football team, when you're a 2-12 football team, and you see those mistakes, it's like, as a fan, you just want to pull your hair out. Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, at least now the Jaguars are in position for another number one pick. The problem is this is not the same draft compared to last year where they were generation quarterbacks.
Right.
There's not a generation quarterback in this year's draft. So even if the Jaguars wanted to trade the number one pick, I'm not sure they get what they could next year with Bryce Young and CJ Stroud available.
Yeah.
But that would be a story for a few weeks. Okay, enough of all teams.
All right.
I would argue week 15 might have been the oddest Sunday slate I have ever seen in my life. You know how odd it was?
How odd was it?
The 1-11-1, the Detroit Lions beat the 10-3 Arizona Cardinals. And it just beat Arizona. They beat them up.
Yeah, they did. This NFL season, man, we talk about it every single week about just how weird this season is. I mean, the Detroit Lions, I mean, obviously they get that tie against the Steelers. You know, like, oh my God, they finally didn't lose a game. Like, can they win one? Like, whatever. And then next thing you know, the Lions are getting their first win of the year. And it's like, oh my gosh, they beat the Vikings. Like, this is great. And then you look at their schedule and you say, okay, the Broncos, probably not going to be the Broncos. The Cardinals, you're probably going to get smashed by the Cardinals. And then you got the Falcons and Seahawks, which, I mean, aren't having the greatest of years, but better than the Lions. And then they end the season with the Packers. It's like, I don't see them having a chance to win another game. And then they put 30 points on the Arizona Cardinals, the Cardinals who just beat just lost to the Rams. I'm sorry, I forgot, mixed that game up. But either way, I mean, Kyler Murray's back. The Cardinals seem like they're back. And next thing you know, I mean, 30-12 against the Lions. What's going on there, man?
Cliff Kingsbury's teams always plummet toward the end of the season. Arizona's doing it again.
Yeah. It's just, I mean, happy for Lions fans, like, absolutely. But it's just another edition of why this season of the NFL is one of the craziest ones I've ever seen, man. I mean, we've got 2 Tuesday night games. We had 2 Monday night games. Seems like we got football every day of the week now, which, I mean, it's great. I mean, I love my football, but it's this season, 2021, man, it's just been a weird year. But what else? I mean, speaking of, we talk about the Lions beating the Cardinals. I mean, that's crazy. How about the Saints and the Buccaneers? 9-0. Tom Brady not scoring a single point.
What? Wait a minute. Wait. What? Wait a minute. You sure? Wait, you sure? You sure that's not a misprint? The Saints really won a game 9-0.
9-0. Yep. I mean, it seems like a runaway baseball score. And then you think about the fact that it's Tom Brady on the 0 side. I mean,
by the way, trivia question for you, Alex.
Uh-oh.
When was the last time a Tom Brady-led team was shut out?
It wasn't Miami, right?
December 10th, 2006, against the Miami Dolphins when Nick Saban was still head coach.
I thought I remembered Miami shutting them out, but the idea of trying to remember a time where the Miami Dolphins could keep Tom Brady and the New England Patriots to 0 points. It's like, that must have been one of the happiest days of my life, probably just blocked out of my memory. But yeah, I mean, you definitely don't see it very often. That's for sure. I'm proud the Dolphins were the team to be able to do it last. But I mean, even the Saints, Taysom Hill, 13 for 27, 154 yards passing. I mean, I'm glad I didn't watch that game, because it must. I mean, if you like defense, that's the game you want to watch on this slate. That's for sure.
And by the way, what could be a bigger storyline than getting shut out. Look at Tampa's injuries. Chris Godwin, torn
Out.
ACL, out for the year. Leonard Fournette, Mike Evans, Levante David. That might have been a worse day for Tampa injury-wise than Tom Brady being under duress, because Tampa lost some key men.
Absolutely. I mean, you nailed it there. You guarantee that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wouldn't mind losing that game as much if it didn't mean losing those guys, because I mean, you nailed it. I mean, obviously, those weapons in Tampa have been just completely balling out this year for Tom Brady. And I mean, losing the best thing about Tampa Bay, I mean, we've been talking about it all year when we've been doing our daily fantasies. It's like, just you got to pick which Tampa receiver is going to go off this week, because one of them's going to. I mean, obviously, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are amazing talents. They're different types of receivers. So you never, I mean, you never know which one of them is going to, who they game plan really to have like the standout day. But that absolutely hurts a lot worse than the 9-0 loss, is losing those guys. I mean, I'm not quite sure how long Leonard Fournette and Mike Evans are going to be out. It seems more of like a day-to-day, week-to-week kind of situation, I think, with them, but I haven't seen any updated reports. I mean, a big question I have is Antonio Brown finally ready to come back? I mean, I saw,
yeah,
I saw the report. I mean, that he was eligible to return on Monday, which was yesterday. So, I mean, that would be a big help, especially now that they lost Chris Godwin. I mean, Antonio Brown was having a great year before all of his craziness, whether it was injuries or faking COVID vaccination results or whatever. But I mean, now is I mean, they needed him. I mean, but not necessarily needed him. Now they need him, because if he has any shadow of the same player he was at the beginning of the year, I mean, that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are begging for another receiver right now.
Yeah, help wanted, wide receivers in Tampa.
Absolutely. Anything else crazy? Looking over the slate, everything else. I mean, a couple other good games, some close games, Packers, Ravens, Tyler Huntley. How about Tyler Huntley almost beating the Green Bay Packers? I mean,
wait a minute. You mean Tyler Huntley almost being the bad man?
yeah.
I mean, Tyler Huntley, but he's saying Baltimore lost on another 2-point conversion. First off, the Ravens should have gone for 2. You've got a red hot quarterback against a tired defense. Secondly, Tyler Huntley may be better than a few of these starters in the NFL, and not more than a few, because the Ravens were in that game.
Yeah.
Against probably the NFL's best team, one of.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's crazy watching him. He looks good. That's the crazy thing. I mean, there's so many times where a backup comes in and they can kind of control the game, and they've run the system for so long, they can kind of just try and ease into it and morph into the current offense. But I mean, Tyler Huntley looks like he's his own guy. He's not just coming in and getting the job done and doing what he can to help the team. He is helping the team, and he is playing good football. It's just, I mean, obviously the Ravens, love Lamar Jackson and want him to be as healthy as possible. I think it's pretty fair to say they have a better chance of winning games with a healthy Lamar Jackson. But I absolutely agree that Tyler Huntley might be, I mean, he's definitely better than a couple quarterbacks in this league that have a starting gig right now. I'll definitely agree with you on that. But I think, one thing, it is the time of year, holiday season. It's the last week, our last podcast before Christmas on Saturday. I just want to know, as a kind of wrapping up 2021, coming into the new year, it's a festive spirit. We've got a festive spirit. I like your shirt. I like your Snoopy Santa. And I have to know, Dylan, what is your favorite Christmas song?
There's only one Christmas song. Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas Is You.
Absolutely. I had a feeling you were going to say that. It's pretty much the biggest classic there is. So I think I have to agree with you there. I mean, you can't have a Christmas and you can't see a commercial or watch TV without hearing Mariah Carey singing that song. I mean, it's become a centerpiece of advertising and just like commercial Christmas. So no, that is a very good choice. And it's coming, it's almost time. We've got Christmas time means playoff football is coming up. It's a great time of the year.